Ah yes, villagers, silly little mobs that roam the overworld, and were one of the many things that made Minecraft into what it is today. They were first introduced in the pretty scary update in 2012, and they've gotten the attention of everyone since then. Some love them, some hate them, some wish for them to rot in hell for all eternity. But we can all agree, from looking at the insane amount of videos to social media posts, that they're really iconic, even for some people who knows the very littlest things about their game. Hence, they aren't going to fade into obscurity anytime soon. However, even then, there's this little web series based on them that is unfortunately now past its prime since its official finale. Heck, I feel as if the majority of the fandom simply just forgot. Sure, there are some goobers who still remember it till this day and bring it into discussions whenever appropriate, but it's only a short duration of time before the topic switches to something else. You know, this series has positively impacted my and many others' childhoods in the mid to late 2010s, and it's kind of sad to witness it slowly becoming forgotten as time goes on, never getting the attention it deserves. Luckily, I have awoken from my 9-month nap, and I want to make this video to show my appreciation for what the series has done to us to brighten our days, especially the ones who have been there since the very start. This is why Villager News is a certified hood class. Villager News is a short comedy web series that focuses highly on what it'd be like if villagers had a CNN of their own. It was produced by a small animation studio named Element Animation, who, if you might not know, created those official Minecraft animations you occasionally see in your recommendation. The first episode was uploaded on YouTube on April 27, 2013, and beautifully ended on September 28, 2019. But we'll get to that later. Each episode has a similar structure. The news anchor, Villager number 4, will say the groundbreaking news before the scene cuts to Villager number 9 reporting the plots taking place from their very eyes. What type of plots, you may ask? Well, they're one of the reasons that I'm even making this video. So buckle up and hold on tight, cause even though it does look somewhat cringe at first glance, you'll most likely stick around due to its extreme goofiness.
The police are everywhere! Are you seeing this?
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Villager News has got to be one of the wackiest pieces of media I have ever watched. This series uses what we call random humor, which refers to a type that uses unexpectancy and absurdity to initiate the had a funny in the brain. Every episode in the series executes this well, having the most random things happen while still being relatively funny. For instance, the villagers declared war on their rival village, the Testificates, due to one of them getting into a Twitter argument with villager number 4 on whether his moustache was submissive, and the end results weren't so particularly great, to say the least. And yes, who could ever forget the villager constructed vehicles? These little bastards contribute half of the overall comedy of the series as they over-exaggerate every single scene they're in. Also, their existence single-handedly proves that the villagers are one of the most powerful forces to ever roam the overworld. They have turrets, long-range catapults, explosive artillery, and a tank. Be reminded that we've only seen 3 villagers in the entire series. Even with the funny aside, this series isn't horribly written to the point where you want to commit self-drink hydroxyc acid, as it consists of fairly good plot development and dialogue, plus the creeper foreshadow. How clever that was back in the day. Probably my favorite episode of the original quadrilogy is episode 2. It starts off with villager number 4 announcing the winning lottery quote unquote numbers, before hitting us with the citizen fails to return. The scene then cuts to villager number 9 reporting on the situation as a couple of SWAT villagers brutally smash an innocent's head onto a door to breach the fugitive's premises. Once they are done, they run around the house trying to find their main target, while accompanied by music provided by their mouths, catching other violators in the process. They soon find a locked door, and I'm just going to leave this clip here.
Move out of the way! Take cover! Beep, 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 boom! Let's go!
They then finally confront the bath-taking criminal, prepared to "Hey, what's that up in the ceiling?"
Your book has been stamped.
Man, I love this show. There's also the UFO causing havoc in the background, but that's just the weekly, maybe monthly basis in the village. No big deal. But just like they said, all good things must come to an end, and villager news is no exception. Sometimes, we have to accept the fact that something we cherish deeply, whether it be a book, a video game, or a show, will inevitably close the curtains, leaving us to move on with our lives. Despite this overwhelming fact, Villager News was able to make a complete banger with its finale.
Hello, villager number 4. It appears that we're being overrun by giant mobs.
After 3 years of inactivity, Villager News is back at it again, this time with a giant problem on their hands. And the villagers sure are putting their wrinkled brains towards the test. Anyways, Big Chungus is rapidly approaching the village's location, with each step signifying the destruction it will cause. Luckily, a villager who actually has a wrinkled brain has come to save his distressed neighbors by wafting the scent of cooked food into the air in hopes of luring the giant bunny towards him. And guess what? His plan works. Never mind. But at least it wasn't their village. We are then presented with the cries of concerned villagers in the city hall pleading the mayor to do something about their current situation. He in response reassures them that a private detective will be working on the case, which isn't so good of an idea considering said individual's ways. While everyone else is doing shenanigans in order to combat against the giant mobs, the detective takes initiative and finds the source of the conundrum along with the one behind this most heinous deed, the witch from Minecraft. He calmly asked her why the lake was enchanted with growing 3. She answers that a potion originally made to solve world hunger accidentally splashed into the lake due to a mere slip on literally nothing. Oh, and she did it again. Not to fret, someone in swimsuit attire has volunteered to go down into the lake to pull the plug. He goes in, slowly succumbs to growing 3, does the deed using his new profound strength, and whoop-dee-doo. The world is saved. Now for the actual review. I really appreciate the fact that not only was there humor from the 4 predecessors retained in this and the final episode, but they were also able to make it even better. Even though Villager News is a comedy-focused series, the raising of the stakes was executed quite well due to the presence of tension, resolution, and an emotional impact. There's also the improvement of the voice acting, but then again, I could care less. Overall, these details have made the 2 final episodes my absolute favorites. But wait, why did I mention a final episode? Surely the giant problem would cease to exist after the events in the episode covered by me. Well, remember that foreshadowing I complimented earlier? Yeah, let's just say that the villagers aren't going to be celebrating for long.
That's it. We're done. I'm gonna go play Fortnite until this blows over.
Villager number 9 appears on screen and announces that the giant creeper has gained a huge following of its kind and has made the majority of the village evacuate. That's not the only bad news, as the giant creeper's explosive force is now equivalent to that of 100,000 TNT. This means that the world will end when it explodes. Villager number 9 proceeds to say that the villager military is being prepped as they speak, but without a known antidote for growing 3, they will be rendered useless. The witch then proves him wrong, and just like the Albert Einsteins they are, they throw her into the pit of death. With the antidote in hand, the military general appoints a villager who seems willing, despite being forced into it. Before they charge off, the general reminds the volunteer that the fate of the world is in their hands, and says he'd like to call him indispensable. They rush into the battlefield, but not even a minute into the battle, the volunteer loses the antidote. Dr. Traorus spots it on the ground and rushes to it, only to be greeted by a boisterous creeper whom he then commences a battle with. Yet, the potion was left alone. A villager attempts to get to it, but many other creepers block him from doing so.
Leave it to me.
Villager number 4 is back from playing Fortnite and is now securing the victory royale by building ramps and walls. Even the creepers are flabbergasted by his ability to do so. Due to his quick reaction time and agility, it was almost guaranteed that villager number 4 would be successful in his goal. Almost, the cringe had finally finished building up after all these years, causing him to collide with a creeper and launch the antidote to another creeper to be used. Villager number 4 accepts his demise and says his final goodbyes as he gets blown up into smithereens.
Villager number 4! No!
A troop then stated that the antidote was no more. The general quickly thought about what to do before coming up with the solution to reason with a certain someone.
Well, look who it is!
Well, that was easy, but now they need a villager competent enough to take down the giant creeper. Hey, I have an idea. Why not give the task to the other titular main character? As the helicopter flew over the bloodshed on the ground, villager number 9 delivered his iconic phrase and announced to the public that he was chosen to save the world. He then gave himself some encouragement, saying things like "You can do this," and "I believe in you," which would later be revealed to have been said for future purposes. Suddenly, the creepers bombarded the helicopter with blocks, causing it to come to a halt. Upon seeing this, the aforementioned troops stated the obvious and that the creepers were gaining ground. In response, the general unhesitatingly sent in the hiatus. This action led into what I believe to be the best scene in the entire series. Due to the mass killing of many creepers, the helicopter was able to get closer to the giant creeper. As it approached the world-ending threat, the parts of the helicopter repeatedly told an old offensive joke made by none other than driving villager number 9 crazy as the joke progressed. In an act of frustration, he told them that he already knew who they identified as. However, in a series of unfortunate events, it turned out that not all of them identified as attack helicopters. Villager number 9 landed on the giant creeper's head and saw the antidote on the other side. He then desperately tried to retrieve it, only to be cornered by 2 creepers who blocked his way at the very edge. Well, I guess this is it.
Artillery! What?
The explosive shells made the giant creeper's head tilt, causing the 2 creepers in villager number 9 to start falling to their deaths. Luckily, he grabbed onto the very edge of the head. As he screamed in terror, he saw the antidote slowly making its way towards the edge. However, the same shells caused the giant creeper to think of hosting a gender reveal party for all the world to see. Villager number 9 recalled his supportive flashback, launched the potion into the air with his legs, and did a backflip. Every villager watched his attempts to kick the antidote into the giant creeper's mouth, with each failure met with confusion. Using all his determination and might, villager number 9 successfully gave the giant creeper its medicine, before accepting his fate and falling to his end. The world was saved, and the creepers retreated back into the shadows. Everybody celebrated in unison. Some villagers praised villager number 9 for his amazing deeds, while others acknowledged his absence and wondered about his whereabouts before eventually realizing the dreadful truth. The general stood at villager number 9's grave with a slight hint of sorrow as he told another villager of the good things the aforementioned individual did. 9 didn't only eradicate their boredom through breaking news, but also the threat that could have easily ended their lives there and then. The general went on about how distinguishable 9 was from other villagers, from the way he looked to the way he talked, and stated that he was one of the best. It's kinda funny that during editing, I figured out that the ending consisting of these 2 people saying goodbye to their deceased friend is almost similar to us saying goodbye to this series as we watch that particular scene. The general, now ready to move on with his life, gives 9 a final rest in peace and ventures home. You thought this was serious, didn't you? Well, plot twist, he has plot armor. Alas, we've come to an end. Villager News will always be one of the best series I have ever watched. From its sheer comedy to the well-executed climax, it's safe to say that Villager News can be called a certified classic. Still, it isn't an objective masterpiece. The definition of an objective masterpiece is a work that is perfect in all ways, with it being impossible to be argued on. But despite Villager News' minor flaws, it's perfect the way it is, and it should keep it that way. That is why Villager News is a subjective masterpiece. I highly recommend watching the series, if you haven't already. Who knows, maybe you'll experience the same joy and excitement we felt when we were kids. Technoblade was right. No matter how ridiculous the odds may seem, within us resides the power to overcome these challenges and achieve something beautiful. Then one day, we'll look back at where we started and be amazed by how far we've come.